LAWsome by ConsultWebs. Breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm with your host, Tanner Jones.
Hello everyone, welcome to another LAWsome episode. Very excited about this one. Today's focus is around the power of personal branding, owning your niche, and leveraging social media within the legal profession. Our guest today, excited to have Jennifer Gore-Cuthbert. She's an accomplished personal injury attorney and founder of the Atlanta Personal Injury Law Group. She's known for her entrepreneurial spirit, branding expertise, and how she uses social media to build a brand, to make connections. So from starting her firm immediately right after law school to becoming a leading figure in personal injury law and no doubt one of the most competitive markets in the country, Jennifer's journey is a masterclass in modern law firm marketing and management. So Jennifer, thanks for joining the LAWsome Show.
Thank you for having me. What an honor and a privilege to join you today.
Oh, that's nice. Jennifer and I have had the opportunity to speak with one another at conferences, and I know she is an active conference goer, and I have no idea when she even finds time to sleep. So this is definitely a long-awaited podcast, one I've been personally excited to be able to talk to Jennifer around. And we're going to cover a lot of topics, as we suggested. Brand is one that's clearly important. I think you've done a masterful job with your brand, Jennifer. So let's start there. Let's talk about the journey, if you would. Kind of give us a picture into how it all started and you know what it took to actually develop the brand that you have today.
Yeah, so when I was just starting out and beginning my firm, it always kind of made sense to me from things I had studied is that, you know, we're all unique and individual, right? So your view on personal injury might be slightly different than mine, and kind of putting your signature on what you do, right? And I think that kind of becomes your brand, right? And so if you want to compete, you know, one of the easiest way for you to compete in a market that might be loud is to be yourself, because nobody can compete with you on that, right? And the more authentic you are, the more you can speak your personal view about how personal injury should be done or whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. It makes your voice stand out.
No doubt. Authenticity, we often say, is one of the greatest ways to make a connection. And we're going to get into, I want to dig in a moment just about the uniqueness of your practice as it stands in a heavily male-dominated industry. And I want to cover that. But, you know, coming back to the niche brand within personal injury, you know, you started literally right out of the gate and started this brand. And you clearly knew what you wanted to focus on in crafting the brand name itself. Maybe speak to that. What drove you into personal injury law? And you know, you clearly jumped right in, so you had a confidence directly in this practice area vertical. So speak to that to maybe some users or some listeners who are toying with the idea of continuing to carve down their practice.
Yeah, so when I was 19 or 20 years old, I was in a very serious car accident. My life had really been shaped in the direction of personal injury even before that, because when I was in college, I worked for a personal injury attorney and his family. And then I was in this bad accident where I almost died. And then my boyfriend that I had dated from when I was 16 to 19 got into a catastrophic motorcycle accident and he died. So if you believe in spirit or God or the universe, sometimes there's things that are happening that kind of shape the course of your life. And if you're listening, you know, it can guide you in a certain direction. And for some reason, after all those events, I felt like, you know, I think I need to become a lawyer. And there was another event that I talk about sometimes where I also got involved in a federal lawsuit when I was 20. My employer stole my identity. So if you're looking at my life, like at 21 years old, like it's not a good scene. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people see me now and they're like, oh, like it's just been a great Pollyanna ride. And that is usually not the reality for anyone I've ever met that has any level of success. So if you're out there and you're like, you know, things haven't been going good for me, you know, maybe the universe has a message for you. So I actually think the bad things that happen to you are like gifts, like covered up, right? And so it gave me such clarity when I went to law school exactly what I was going to do. I knew from the day that I walked in that door I was going to be a personal injury lawyer, which gave me a huge competitive advantage. I didn't waste my time trying to think about, am I going to do this or that or this? I literally got accepted, which was challenging. I did not get into multiple law schools that I applied to because, again, I never planned to go to law school. So I was not in business school thinking, how can I create my portfolio so I can go to law school? So I go to law school, they let me in, and my plan was I'm going to get a job in a personal injury firm. Well, then they let me know, well, you can't work. And I'm like, well, that's not going to go with my plan. So I asked them if they could switch me to the night program. So I literally switched into the night program so I could work as a paralegal in the day in a PI firm. And that's what I did. I've also been working since I was 14. So like, I just didn't really imagine not working. And I know there's a lot of people out there, they don't work in college. I mean, I work 25 hours a week in high school. I've just been so grateful that my parents were insane, that they always made me feel like you can work a full-time job and go to school. And that stretched my capacity too, because I often find that I have a lot more capacity than some other people. And it's just because since I was so young, I've always been working. So I'm working 25 hours a week in a law firm. I'm going 25 hours a week to night law school. And, by my end of my law school career, I was the student body president. I was highly involved in all the organizations. And I started realizing law school is just for like a networking game right here. Like I'm going to be working in Atlanta. All these people are going to be lawyers, businesses, relationships. I'm going to start a law firm. How can I like leverage my law school experience to help me start my law firm? And that's really where it started. And when I got my license, I started the law firm, and thank God my colleagues and friends sent me business. And there was a couple people that introduced me to opportunities that helped me really like launch my firm. But in the beginning, the law firm was the Gore Law Firm. So It was not Atlanta Personal Injury Law Group. And I just had, my firm, and we were an injury firm.
A handful of critical takeaways. One, as a parent, I hear the importance of leadership in the home, and being able to make your children do tough things, right? That's one huge thing, and many of us struggle with this, but, adversity is part of life. And you talk about the importance of authenticity. Well, part of life is, it carves us, it creates us. And I love that you've embraced that. You've also, you've been given, well, what I'll say are signs or, clear direction early. And I think that's the other piece of like understanding your why. What drives you? Where are you going? Because, you're going to have some tough challenges in running a business. Even the most successful businesses are struggling with, big decisions any given day or big challenges. And the more you understand the why, the easier it is to get through those tough situations. Would you agree with that, Jennifer?
Yeah, somebody said to me this weekend, life is like a roller coaster. And if the roller coaster was only going like up, 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 it would be kind of boring, right? Like the fun part of the roller coaster is like,
That's right. That's
when you
the
go down
thrill.
and come back up, right? And, I have a very different perspective now of failure or perceived failure. I mean, everything that has been like the worst things in my life has created the greatest things. So I have like a lot of different, I don't know, like there's things that there's catastrophic failures. I talk a lot about that. Like we would like to avoid those, but there's a lot of things that are just lessons. And so, also another lesson that had happened to me before I even started my law firm was I failed the bar the first time. And that was brutal, like gut-wrenchingly brutal, like tears your ego apart. And I was about 2 months pregnant with my daughter when I took the bar the first time, and I didn't really even know like I was pregnant. And so then I had to take the bar again, 9 months pregnant,
Oh my
and I
goodness.
passed. But I started the law firm when my daughter was 2 months old. And I think part of the grit and determination of starting my law firm so soon is I had to fight so hard for that degree that like when I got it, I was just like, I'm going. Like there's no.
I love it. And that's honestly a great segue into what I consider truly is a unique value proposition in the marketplace, and that's having a woman-owned law firm. And I think it also comes with its own fair set of unique challenges that other law firms don't face. But I've been helping law firms now for well over a decade, and one thing I've seen in the personal injury realm is it's so common for the female counterpart, the wife, the mother, the child, the daughter of the one who has been injured to start the process, to initiate the process, do the research, to look for a law firm, to look for counsel, and to take action, right? It's the women in our lives that have often helped kind of push us through some of these big situations in life. And to me, we go back to the authenticity in the brand. You have created such an incredible, attractive brand to hire in such a difficult life situation. And so I see you using that to an incredible advantage in the marketplace and to serve your clients. But I also know that there are a ton of challenges, often unseen challenges by the outside world. So what's your take on that? I mean, I'd love to hear your opinion.
It's so funny because I don't know. I grew up in a lot of ways, I think, kind of raised as my father's son, which, he had no sons. So I was always with my dad. My dad is a business person. And he always just treated me like you could do anything. And I think this is a great takeaway for fathers of girls. My dad thinks I could walk on the moon. My dad thinks I could be the president. He thinks I could go to the Olympics. I mean, my greatest downfall in life is disappointing my dad because I don't rule the world yet, And so it never dawned on me at any moment in my life really that being a woman was a disadvantage because of the way he spoke that into me my whole life.
It's amazing.
And I talk a lot about this, and the things we tell our kids become their subconscious beliefs about themselves. And so if ever anything wasn't going my way, it was clearly because it was my lack of effort. It was never because I was a woman. And you have to be very careful, the frames and the narratives and the stories you tell about your life, because it all comes true. Whatever you believe comes true. And I'm grateful. I mean, my dad put a tremendous amount of pressure on me. And when I was younger, I really couldn't understand it. I always felt I was disappointing him. Like if I would get an A, he'd be like, but you could have gotten an A+. And I used to take it so personal. I'd be like, Dad, other people would be really excited if they got an A. He'd be like, but you're special. You could do more. Even to this day, my dad will call me and he'll go, when are you going to have a private plane? And
He keeps setting the bar for you.
He just thinks I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't had the experience that being a woman has been a disadvantage. I also think subconsciously I was never led to believe that could be a potential outcome for me. I think it's a core advantage. I think whatever about you, whether it's your gender, your race, your look, your whatever, you're a unique person. And the more you can lean into your uniqueness, it's your absolute power. It's your gift. And it just happens to be really easy to market a law firm if you're a woman because there's not many of us.
No doubt. And I love that framework. It's such a healthy framework. But it's, it challenges you for sure. But it's most certainly contributed to your success.
I mean, I'm sure that there's been people, I think in the beginning of my law firm, I used to be insecure about being so young. Because if you imagine, I started the law firm when I was 28. I still have the letters of people that I tried to get to come work here, and they would say, why would I go work for a 28-year-old, And like I would say to them, because I got the cases, she or he who has the cases gets the work, you know. But I will say now that what I did is I worked on a lot of my insecurities, and being young was one of them. And I think whatever you're insecure about, you're going to manifest, you're going to create. Like if you're insecure about being young or you're insecure about being a woman, you're going to find all the proof of that. So you have to be very careful about these insecurities because they somehow like come to be because you're subconsciously already primed to believe them.
Have you, so social media immediately comes to mind on this, where I've seen you over the years be extraordinarily successful on social. And what does that even mean, to be extraordinarily successful? Well, I've seen you be vulnerable in that you're putting content out on a regular basis. You're kind of giving a glimpse of the daily life inside and outside of the law firm. And it's a really unique perspective, especially for the general public who often wonders, what are busy attorneys doing any given day? So you've shined a light into that, into a world that has been largely unseen by the public, but naturally comes, I suspect, tons of vulnerabilities being just shattered in that, being just willing to set them aside and our own kind of personal self-doubt and everything else. Like, how do you begin that process? You've started to talk through that a little bit in the mindset there, but for anyone out there who has been struggling with this, I think we all recognize as business leaders, we need to be on social media. But there's often something that's holding many of us back from doing that, and you've been able to push through that barrier. Speak to that.
Yeah, so what comes up for me when you ask that question is there was a time when I was hiding out and I was not the face of this brand. And I can think back to those years. I was probably like 2017, 2018. And I remember Alexa said to me, like, you really got to get on the billboards. You got to go on social media. We were doing social media, but in a more like, this about the firm type way. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about the behind the scenes. And we really decided to start really taking seriously video content, which is more, I think, like compelling. And so I had been like doing 3 to 4 or 5 years of personal development before that. And when I say personal development, like I had hired a business coach, I had gone to a mindset coach, I had gone to a hypnotist, I had gone and straightened my teeth, I had hired a personal trainer. Like I was in this like self-improvement, like I don't even know if it was fully conscious, but I was like having a vision. And I feel like I'm a really big manifester, and like you look back on my life and there's like things that I feel compelled to do even today that I'm doing today that I'm not 100% sure why I'm doing it, but I know that it will like unfold. Like I'm very vision led. And so like, I remember thinking, I'm going to speak on stages all over the world one day, and I need to go to this hypnotist because she said she could eliminate my stage fright. And I'm willing to try things. And I remember I went for like 10 sessions and it like literally worked like this. She was like somebody I met at a networking thing, and she was saying, I can subconsciously remove the feeling of fear when you speak on stage. I'm like, you know what do I have to lose? She was helping people stop smoking. She was helping people kick like habits. And I swear to you, it worked. And so like I eliminated my fear of speaking in public. I changed my look so that I like really liked how I looked on film. I hired a personal trainer. When you start to like go to the gym and love your body, it's really easy to get on camera.
Sure.
Like what are the 12 things you could do that would make you more comfortable on camera?
Yep. And that it forces you to look in the mirror, and that self-reflection is not a very, at least from my experience, it's not a very common thing within this profession. This is a tough profession, and there's a lot of, and I don't want to speak for the general crowd, but from what I've experienced, there's just a lot of kind of just push it down. Like there's a heavy weight in this industry. And it's like, push it down, move to the next, right? And so you've taken a lot of steps beyond what I've seen as the average successful lawyer out there, and been willing to do that. Was there anything in particular that started that? Feel welcome to answer this, right? However deep you want to answer it, but I'm just curious, what was it that just sparked that said, okay, I'm going to commit to this self-improvement journey, and I'm going to be as vulnerable and open with myself in this process as possible? Was that the success of the business driving that, or something else?
I think it goes back to, like, even when I was a teenager, one of my favorite things to do would be to go to Barnes and Noble and go to the self-help section. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember doing that as a teenager. So I always feel I've been, like, on this path of, like, I've been a deeply intellectual kind of person, I think, even just my whole life. I always, like, was like, what would it be to, like, take it to the full level? Like, that's like a path of, like, how far can I take it? That's always been in me. I remember, like, I was a weird kid. Like, when I was even, like, 7 years old, I remember I had, like, an existential crisis, like, when I realized, like, you can never go back in time again. Mm. And my parents were just like...
Yeah, at your age then. Wow.
I was such a deep thinker as a young kid. And, like, there's periods of time where, like, that's not cool. And then when I started going to business coaching, which was, like, year 2 of my law firm, the thing that, like, caught me was, like, so much... They used to teach us in business coaching, there's, like, 6-7 parts to a law firm. There's sales... There's marketing, there's finances, there's HR, there's systems, there's people and software and stuff like that. And they were like, the 7th thing is the wild card. And that is the greatest determiner of any business, any law firm. And that is the mindset of the owner. And when I heard that, and then they were having all these seminars, and it was like, the one thing that could help you double your revenue is if you go do mindset work. And my license plate on my car is mindset at this point, because I so believe that. And so I started, like, following. I am really good at, like, looking at people that are successful and saying, like, what is the commonality here? Mm-hmm. And what I started to notice is that the people that were really successful had really done a lot of personal development. Like, they have worked on themselves. Mm-hmm. Because it affects your risk tolerance. It affects your leadership. It affects your integrity. It affects your vision. Like, so much of what's driving the business can be limited or expanded by the owner's thinking.
No doubt. Yeah, you can either bring your team up or hold them back with your own mindset.
So that's when I got, like, okay, I'm going all in. So I started signing up for every mindset workshop that they would present. And again, like... Sometimes you don't know what you're signing up for.
Perspective, though, take what's valuable and drop what's not.
I loved it all. I was like, I'm here for it. They teach you things like everybody has a financial set point. So everybody has a level of money that they can make in which they basically stop. Like, your ambition will stop. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people get comfortable and they get in their comfort zone. And so there's ways you can, like, hack where you can increase your financial set point. Every one of us has limiting beliefs that we have to basically, like, decide whether those still serve us. And when you start learning about these things and you can, like, put it into immediate play, and you start realizing the whole world operates off of universal, like, principles that you can completely hack, well, it gets kind of fun.
Jennifer, I want to pivot into, you mentioned video, that you had started leveraging video within social media. And I think that's a very practical way that virtually any lawyer out there can immediately start taking advantage of social media. But I'm curious, what have you learned in that? Are there certain videos that, that resonate better with the audience, generate more traction? Have you found certain formulas in this, or is it much more abstract than that?
I think you have to look at it as, like, an art form. You're throwing things at the wall. You don't know what's going to stick. You don't know what's going to resonate. You don't know the right person hears the right thing, and it just becomes viral. It's a creative process. I think the key is being vulnerable. I mean, a lot of the stuff I share that gets a lot of attention is more in my personal life. I've been going through a divorce. Like, people have been like blown away by me sharing, and I'm not sharing like, details of my divorce or what, but just like, hey, I'm going through like this life change. And like, I think it's like a lot of people are very quiet, and like everybody wants to put up this image like they have a perfect life and everything is perfect, and that's not the truth of what I've seen. I don't know anyone that's living a perfect life, and I struggle with that a lot because it's like you always want to put your best foot forward, you always want to be a positive person, but you have to counterbalance that with the truth and the reality that things are not always rainbows and sunshine. And if we can give permission to other people to be more truthful about their own struggles, it just has a good effect, I feel like, on the viewership,
No doubt. I mean, it empowers, it encourages others, but the beauty with that from a marketing angle is that it also creates more connection. And that's such maybe it's an odd thing for someone to hear if they're not on social media or they haven't spent a ton of time on social, but literally people you've may never even had conversations with seem to have a connection with you because of your willingness to open up and do that. Have you experienced that with people calling in?
So a lot of the times I talk to the camera on my personal brand, which I have a personal brand and I have a law firm brand, and I highly recommend that you separate those two because you're more relatable as a personal brand, right? Like if you like hunting, somebody out there likes hunting. It's hard to incorporate hunting in your law firm, but you can incorporate it in your personal brand, and I've seen people do it. I like the gym, I like fitness, I like parenting stuff, I like travel, I like luxury travel. So like people love all those things. There's lots of people out there that can relate to you as a parent or as someone who loves fitness. And so you humanize yourself. And I talk into the camera a lot, like as if I'm talking to somebody. So it feels very personal, I think. I'll be like, today I was out doing this, and, this is like what I learned today. And so it's almost like they feel like they're talking to you. And it happens to me all the time. I think you've seen it at conferences. We were just in Chicago together. Like, people feel like they know me. And I'm like, it's so strange in some senses because like I may have never met that person, but they like comment all the time or they like follow me on social media and they know so much about my life. Well,
and that's the beauty of that concept. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work, but it also requires, again, overcoming a lot of what we're talking about here, and it starts again with the mindset that you've stressed, because that's the big point I want to get across, is that everyone recognizes, much like video, it's important. We should do it as a business, as an individual, but it's the action. And I can also tell just purely from your own framework within your mind how that works. It's like you're a doer and you want to see it all the way through, and then you're going to look back and say it can be better, and you're going to turn around and you're going to do it again. And for those listening, it's like take note. Yes.
Like the fun thing is it's always got to evolve. Like what we were doing a year ago, we're not going to be, this is not like a formula. This is a evolution. This is like at some point there might be a hologram of me somewhere. Like I don't know where this is going. But I'm here for it.
Yep.
And it is really like a creative process. I mean, you can batch content this stuff. You could do 20 videos in a couple hours and just shoot once a month if that's your comfortable like level. I think a big area for me is having stories, like having more content as stories, because I think a lot of people are viewing stories. I also love sharing this stuff on LinkedIn. We get a lot of people that come work for us just because they follow us on LinkedIn.
Very cool.
They feel like they know the firm. But you have to kind of be somebody who is comfortable in your skin. And I've kind of shared some of the ways that I've worked to get there. And it's also like just hours. Like if you saw yourself on film 100 times, you kind of get desensitized. That's like, it is what it is.
One common, I think it's a misconception, but it's that, if I'm a lawyer, I need to be giving lawyerish information, right? Like I need to make sure people understand I'm a personal injury lawyer. I help people who've been in car accidents. And again, it's a misconception because they're looking at it purely from the standpoint of who's benefiting. They're looking to get their benefit or their business to benefit from that and not their network, right? Have you seen that balance?
Okay, this literally reminds me of the presentation I just did. I just came from PimCon, and I did an entire presentation on social media, and I called it the social media opportunity magnet. Okay? And I said people are too much thinking about social media as I'm here to get a client. We listed up on stage all the opportunities that have come to us through our social media. They're too vast to even name. I mean, they're actually unimaginable. They're things we couldn't have even foreseen. Like, I've had people ask me to be have like equity in their company. I've had people propose like deals that like I've never in my wildest imagination imagined. I've had people offer me to be part of their book, write a book. I've had vendors like offer me crazy deals to be like a strategic partner. Like, this is from our social media. Like, you're thinking too small if you think this is just about a client, you know?
I love that.
And like, you're a lighthouse and you need to shine your light out so all the people that are looking to like find a partner or somebody to like collaborate with can find you. And like, I couldn't even actually quantify the amount of money our social media has made us in terms of opportunities. I mean, I've had key people come work here. I've had, just because of the presence of the social media, it's probably the same as like any big law firm that has gone all in on TV or billboards. Like, the brand that you build out of that, it's hard to even put a price around it.
For those listening, if you're hearing this and not getting motivated and willing to get up off the chair, you're missing something, because that's it. And it's not with the end goal of being, let's grow the business through social media. It's let's reach more people. Let's make sure that our message is heard, because our message resonates, and it goes back to the why and being confident in the brand and the journey that you're on, and good things happen in that. Jen, I love that, and I'd like to kind of take it a different angle here as we wrap up and focus more around at your level of firm and where you've grown and matured to as a business. Now you're really looking at it from a scalability standpoint and operations perspective. That's truly how you're going to continue to take it to the next level. And so, you know, you've got such an incredible story of starting right out of law school, literally starting from scratch, changing a brand, again, starting from scratch with a new brand and building it to where it is today. What are some of the key decisions looking back that have helped to influence your success today? Can you narrow that down to maybe a couple big decisions?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, really working on yourself and embracing who you are uniquely yourself. And like, that is the driver of the whole thing. Like, people have to understand what your message is, who you are, what you stand for, what your business is about. I think a secondary key thing that, you know, everyone has to deal with at some point if you want to scale. I have spent outrageous amounts of money on coaching. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm in masterminds, I'm in coaching programs. I try to spend time mostly with people that are 5 to 10 times larger than me, because you're the average of the people you surround yourself with. There's groups that I could go spend time with that I would be the biggest fish and they would just praise me. I don't want that. I want to hang out with people that are like, well, why aren't you doing this? You could, you know, they give me ideas. They get my energy up. I mean, you've seen the circles that we hang out with. There's some pretty impressive people.
No doubt.
So I think that's been a really key thing. And then with doing that, I think another really key thing that if I did not tackle, I wouldn't be sitting here where I am today. It's this radical, like, development of leadership. I I think leadership is lacking in a lot of law firms. People are very ego driven. And even as a brand, like, I really had changed my approach over the years about how I manage and lead people. I can remember a meeting I was sitting in with a coach in 2018, and I was like, I'm a terrible leader. Like, I'm a terrible leader, and this is like a massive area for me. And the reason why I think at that time I was a terrible leader is because a lot of times players, like, I was a doer. I really struggled with understanding why anyone needed to be motivated. You're smiling. Have you run into this?
That is the life of a leader, right?
Yeah, but like, I'm like, you just do it. Like, you know, that was my mindset back then. And when I first hired my first lawyers, I remember it took 2 lawyers to replace me, and I was endlessly frustrated. And I was like, why? And it's this idea that you think as the owner, everyone's going to be like working like you're working. It's not reality. And you need to start like learning how to develop and lead people in a way that they can hear. I've had to take terrible feedback over the years of like, hey, you've got to change this. The way you're talking isn't going to work. The way you're leading isn't going to work. And I am adaptable, and I will change, and I will put my ego to the side. I will say, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I did it all wrong. Please forgive me. If you can't get that in check, you're not going to grow. You're not going to attract top talent if you can't become the leader of top talent. You know, and hire people that are smarter than you. I have lawyers that are working for me that, thank God, they're double or triple the experience of my legal career. How do you get people like that to come work for you? What kind of vision do you need to have, and how do you need to treat them, and how do you need to build them up and support them? Like, my view now is I'm more like a conduit, and like, I help other people live their dreams, and through that I get to live my dream. This is not just like me, the star. Like, this is my vision, but it's executed by a talented team of amazing people. That's
amazing. And that's true leadership with respect to looking beyond yourself, and creating a legacy in a business. I love that. And I would agree that, you know, one key area for any business leader is going to be focusing on your people and building your people up. They're the ones that are going to represent your brand. And how well do you want them representing that brand? Jennifer, I've thoroughly enjoyed this discussion. I knew it was going to be gold. Tons of great tips there. Any final thoughts just in terms of what we've covered today that you would share with our listeners as we close? No, I just think, like, you know, one piece of advice I give to everybody I've ever coached is, like, if you own a business, you got to keep marketing going. You got to keep sales going. You got to keep production going. Like, you know, you can't have marketing on, marketing off, sales on, sales off, production on. Like, you have to find a way to keep all the balls going forward. And I know you're passionate about that topic. You know, that is the key. The train has to keep going on time. That's right. I mean, you made the point earlier about the other successful law firms, you know, with the idea of partnering with them on cases. And it's like, well, if you have the case, you are the law firm, right? I mean, you're the law firm that has the best success, or has the best potential for success, because naturally, even the best lawyers out there, if they don't have a case, they have no one to represent. And so that is the huge piece behind all of this. And so, Jennifer, I thank you so much for the time. I look forward to seeing you again at the next conference. Until next time, be well. Continue to take great care of your clients and your team, as I know you will. Thank you so much. Thank you.
LAWsome by ConsultWebs with Tanner Jones. For show notes, links, and info, go to consultwebs.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Watch for the next LAWsome episode to discover more breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm.